Dina Dahl, who is a regular contributor on Legal AF and co-anchors Unprecedented with me about the United States Supreme Court. She joined me on the midweek edition of Legal AF, the podcast, like a crossover edition where we put together Legal AF and Unprecedented, having Dina Dahl substitute in for Karen Friedman-Agnifilo. It was a great show. We covered a lot of topics at the United States Supreme Court and things moving up to the United States Supreme Court, including, of course, the case of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And here's a clip. Don't adjust that dial. You got a special midweek crossover edition of Unprecedented, a Supreme Court show I do with Dina Dahl on Legal AF, and the midweek edition of Legal AF, the podcast. We're putting it all together. Dina's stepping in for Karen Friedman-Agnifilo, and I thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to kind of spread our wings a little bit and show what we do about the United States Supreme Court over on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Welcome, Dina Dahl.
So great to be here. Always love the midweek edition, and great time to do a crossover because the Supreme Court is hot right now.
Yeah. You're our regular. You're like the Joan Rivers of, this is a compliment. You're like the Joan Rivers.
I still don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'll take it as one.
She was, for those that are about my vintage, she was the regular guest host for Johnny Carson, who was the, one of the main people on the Tonight Show before whoever's on the Tonight Show these days. And she regularly sat in for Johnny. In fact, she got her own show eventually. So that's it is a compliment. Yeah, I like Joan Rivers. Yeah. So enough of that. We've lost half the audience under the age of 50 or 60. We're back. We're going to talk today on the midweek edition of Legal AF about a number of things that orbit the United States Supreme Court. Some that are in the United States Supreme Court, some that are about to get there, some that are being petitioned to get there, and a whole bunch of decisions that have yet to be issued, at least a half a dozen of them, that are going to rock our world one way or the other before the Supreme Court term is officially over, when the last opinion drops and they get out of here for summer vacation, with the caveat that they get dragged back in about every week on emergency applications to the United States Supreme Court by Donald Trump. It's hard to believe that where we're at right now, besides that you're on the Midas Touch Network. And let me mention that for a minute. I have a very disjointed presentation today. Midas Touch, while we're on the air live, is going to roll the odometer. Wait for this number.
No way.
To 5 million subscribers.
Wow.
In a little bit less than 5 years.
Wow.
5 million subscribers. I checked the odometer before we got on, started recording. Boom. I'm like, once again, because midweek was where the 2 millionth view happened, 2 million subscriber. I don't know about that. Salty's telling me I'm off, but not according to what I saw coming on the air. It says 4.99. I mean, I wasn't a math major, but that seems awful close. It's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, make it happen.
Yeah, people, make it happen. Popok needs it.
Yes. Salty, our producer, wrote, laugh audience, the Legal AF audience can do it. Yes, we can do it. And as long as you're doing that, come over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, because we're achingly close to 700,000 in our first 8 months. We're like we're like Midas was 4.5 years ago. And all of that. So anyway, enough.
And to me, that just it gives comfort because we are in the majority. The bigger our community grows, the stronger we feel, and we need to feel that against Trump now. Let's celebrate it.
I love that community. And the fact that we're all here doing hard work and being the foot soldiers to protect the Constitution. So we're going to kick it off with what's happening at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals about Donald Trump's assault on states' rights, which is what this is. You can call it many things. Trump versus Governor Newsom. He's jailing and threatening to arrest his political rivals. We'll talk about that too. But at bottom, it's the Republican Party abandoning states' rights and attacking the sovereignty of one of the 50 states by commandeering the National Guard under phony, trumped up, no pun intended, allegations that there's a rebellion. Did you know that there's a rebellion going on in your home state in LA? Did you know that?
I know, there. Right? I know. It's my city. No, definitely not. I mean, and neither do the millions of others Angelinos.
There's certainly no rebellion going on in your dining room.
Definitely not that.
From what I can see.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about the Ninth Circuit. There was an oral argument. We had about 70,000 or more people join us live on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, to watch it. 3-judge panel. You can I have a theory about what happened there. And we're waiting as we're going live here. We're waiting for the decision by the Ninth Circuit. It's going to come out later today, tonight, or tomorrow, because they've said they are mindful that there is a major hearing in the case, because the case continues. The rock moves in front of Judge Breyer in a preliminary injunction hearing, which is next level up from temporary restraining order. They're just dealing with temporary restraining order. I think I know what they're going to do, but I want to hear your impression about that. Ninth Circuit, we're going to talk about. Then you and I, as friends and as colleagues, started texting each other today about this terrible anti-transgender decision by the United States Supreme Court, 6-3 majority, including Roberts, who wrote it, including Amy Coney Barrett, who we had some hope for when it came to children. This has to do with gender-affirming care for people who are, I mean, really for all people, but certainly puberty blockers. So kids that haven't yet gone through puberty, who have, who they think they are and who they are, there is a gap. And they, with the consultation of their families and others, want to live a life the way that they feel about themselves in terms of gender, and to align their identity with their gender. Yeah. And the United States Supreme Court had an opinion about that most of our audience, I don't think, will think is correct. In a case that you and I covered on Unprecedented at the time, including through oral argument, in a case called Skermeti, because it's named after the Attorney General of Tennessee. So we have to talk about that. And of course, there's always a shining light. And that is Judge Sotomayor, who not only wrote a scathing dissent with sorrow, she actually said, I'm sad, but she read it from the bench. And I want to talk to the audience about why justices write concurrences and dissents. Do they matter? Or who are they talking to? Are they're talking to history? They're talking to the future generations. And sometimes what was once the dissent really becomes the majority opinion and is cited in a future iteration of the court. And so it matters. It Absolutely. Matters. And it matters to the bend of history. Ninth Circuit. Then we'll give some updates about things that are going on at the United States Supreme Court as we wrap what normally would be a pretty uneventful summer, but won't be when when you have a president that's got 400 lawsuits against him. We're going to hit my number. I said 4,000 before the Trump administration is over. We're at 400 already. Wow. Two a day. Yeah. We had a first trial that just happened. We can talk a little bit about with Judge Young, or as I said, it's the revenge of the senior status judges. And there's a group of things that the Supreme Court is thinking about. Is weighing in on through opinions on some major issues that haven't yet dropped. Transgender is probably the biggest on that list that we were waiting for. There's been a couple of others in the meantime, but there's a whole bunch coming up that'll be coming out 1, 2, 3 a day, before June is over. And you and I will catch them and explain them over on Unprecedented and in Hot Takes here. Welcome back. Twice a week, we do Legal AF, the podcast, Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Midas Touch Network, and then on audio podcasts, wherever you get them from. Just plug in Legal AF. We're in the top 50 of all news podcasts around the world. We're the number one law and politics podcast on YouTube's weekly rankings. That's all because of you. But we need to continue to grow our audience. We need to continue to grow our audio downloads on Apple and Spotify, and our reviews, our 5-star reviews. We need more of those. That's why we're here together. Take that clip, send it off to people in your life, and tell them and ask them to join Legal AF as part of their journey. Join our movement. We're talking truth to each other about things that matter at the intersection of law and politics. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.